Hello, and welcome back to The Young Voter. The most important piece of news this week, and the saddest of course, was the news of the Arizona shooting, which occurred on Saturday and killed 6 people and injured many more, including Congresswoman Gabrielle Giffords, the congresswoman from Arizona, who is recovering now in Tucson, and who apparently is able to move around and keep her eyes open for up to 15 minutes at a time. So that's comforting news, certainly, for the congresswoman and for all those that are recovering from their injuries. Hopefully this process of recovery will continue. The bigger item of news, of course, at least politically, is the way in which the media and the political parties have come together in a way, at times awkwardly over the past few days, and have attempted to smooth their dialogue and tone down some of the rhetoric that originally was blamed for creating an atmosphere that would have made the shooting more likely. Now, certainly, Jared Loughner, who was the shooter, was not, I think, motivated by anybody's particular speech or anybody's call to violence or anything like that. He certainly was a troubled man with some pretty incoherent political positions who acted on his own. But certainly, I think, we can nevertheless use this opportunity to try to take a step back and ask if the shooting had been caused as a result of some of the violent rhetoric which we've heard, of course, from both the right and the left. Though certainly I'm of the opinion that a lot of this violent rhetoric is coming more from the right than the left. Certainly when Glenn Beck says he is going to kill someone, like Michael Moore, asking on radio how he should kill Michael Moore, and when Bill O'Reilly talks about an abortion doctor and saying, and says that this abortion doctor is executing babies, implying, well, are you going to allow that to happen? Certainly some of the gun and some of the blood references should be toned down, regardless of whether or not they directly cause certain actions. Though, of course, on Fox News, Glenn Beck, of course, his rant against the Tides Foundation, then that gunman went to the Tides Foundation and shot a lot of people. I'm not saying that Glenn Beck is responsible for that, though perhaps that would be the logical connection, but I am saying that we should try to step back and try to cool it a little bit and try to establish some guidelines, or at least work with some of the guidelines that perhaps were deemed acceptable a few years back. Directly inciting violence against one person is not a good thing. Telling people to grab their guns is not a good thing. Okay, saying that someone should be killed or a group of people should be killed. When Rush Limbaugh said we should kill the liberals, I don't think that's a good idea, because I think 99.999% of the people in this country are sane enough to understand, obviously we're not going to go out and kill the liberals. But if someone who's crazy listens to that and says, oh, then maybe I should go kill the liberals, and he doesn't, well, then maybe, Rush, you'll be held responsible to an extent. Obviously, the individual is more responsible, but obviously, you'll be condemned for what you're doing. It's also a way of ensuring yourself, okay, to try to tone down your rhetoric. Telling people that they should go to kill someone, that's never acceptable. At least, I don't feel that's acceptable. I don't think anyone should. Okay, so please don't tell someone to go out and kill someone else, because it's really bad, okay? It's awful, okay? And yeah, it's funny maybe sometimes to hear Rush Limbaugh say these ridiculous things, but they have consequences, or at least they could have. The second item of news, which is directly related, of course, to the shooting, was President Obama's speech. It was passionate, it was eloquent, it was unifying, and it was moving. And I think it certainly was one of his better speeches. A lot of people and a lot of commentators have said that it was one of his strongest speeches, and certainly stronger than Reagan's speech after the Challenger disaster and Clinton's speech after Oklahoma City bombing. Some people have said that it's even stronger than Bush's statements after 9/11, which, of course, that's open to interpretation, but perhaps it was. I'm going to attach a link to the full speech in the description of this video, so you can go check it out. It's a very good speech, And it's really moving, and the whole ceremony for these victims was a call to unity, sort of a pep rally for Tucson, which I think needs it at this point, really to get energized and try to live as a community again. I mean, they're obviously terrified and shocked that such events could happen within their own community, but they certainly should try to stand up and unify again as a human family, as President Obama, as a Tucson family, as an Arizona family, as an American family, okay, and live up to the dreams and the expectations that our children have. I'm of course referencing the young girl who died at 9 years old during the shooting. So it was a great speech. I think it was perhaps one of the best speeches of the century so far. Of course, the century has only been 10 years, but one of the great speeches, one of the speeches of hope and unity that we've heard, and certainly catered to an American audience, and I think people can certainly appreciate that. So I think those are the big item of news this week. The big items, of course, now as the week closes, there have been some other little snippets. For example, Michael Steele will no longer run the RNC. It's Reince Priebus. Hopefully, we'll all learn how to say his name and spell it. We'll see if the RNC is more successful. It was pretty successful this time, at least, in electing a lot of Republicans, but a lot of people said that it didn't exploit the situation enough, or they wasted a lot of money. Certainly, they're in debt, and their organization is sort of on shaky ground, on a shaky foundation at this point. We'll see. Also, another bit of news. Senator Katie Lee Hutchinson, Republican of Texas, will not seek re-election in 2012, which has led to speculation that Democrats could possibly contest the seat. Again, though, remember, it's Texas, so it's unlikely that Democrats will end up winning the race, but I think it'll be more competitive than usual. And who knows, perhaps if the Democrats put forward a solid candidate, then it can appeal across the demographic spectrum in the state of Texas. Who knows, perhaps they might have a chance. But I think the most important news this week, certainly, obviously, I think, were the shootings, and very sad, but also President Obama's ability, or at least attempt, to unify the country, and I think it worked. He was very presidential, and certainly everyone really acknowledged him as a leader after the night. And I think that's very important because recently he's been seen as not really strong and perhaps not really appealing across the board. I think this is a way for President Obama to turn his image around, and certainly to write a new page in his own political future. All right, thank you again for watching The Young Voter.